As tensions between Russia and Ukraine heat up, a lot of the focus seems to be pointed towards this idea of a ground invasion, where you have Russian and Ukrainian troops on the ground using person-to-person combat ground-based vehicles for combat. I really hope this doesn't happen, and that's what it looks like may happen. And the possibility of submarine warfare is not something to be ignored. Russia has submarines that are very powerful with nuclear warheads, and those could be used to hit strategic sites within Ukraine's urban and industrial centers. So we're going to look at a model for that right now and see what is and isn't possible. So the last time nuclear bombs were used in war was when the Hiroshima bomb was dropped on Japan, and that had a blast power of 15 kilotons of explosion equivalent to TNT. Right here we're looking at a much bigger nuclear test in Russia, and their modern bombs can do 150 kilotons, so essentially 10 times more powerful their warheads are than what was used in the last nuclear war. And that's just one warhead. In other words, one single RSM-56 Bulava submarine launched missile is 10 times as powerful as the nuclear bomb that destroyed all of Hiroshima. And a Borie-class submarine holds 16 of those. So it's quite a multiplier. Now right now we're looking at some aerial footage of a nuclear weapons test in Russia, because that gives you a much better view of just how destructive these can be. And this is a pretty isolated area. We're just looking at basically frozen tundra in this scene. So let's take a look at what these tests look like when they're actually launched from a submarine. So this is a graphical representation of what one of these Borie class subs look like. They're nuclear powered and they have nuclear warheads. They can hold 16 to 20, and in my models we account for them holding 16. They can shoot a 3-stage booster. There's first stage, second stage, and third stage, from up to 150 feet below the surface. You can see this third stage turns around and then drops individual warheads. Now let's watch some test footage from an actual weapons test from one of these deadly submarines. This footage was released by the Russian government around 10 years ago. So just think about how much time that is giving them to make technology improvements off these tests. You can also check out the links on the Wikipedia page in the description below for much more fascinating information about the capabilities of these machines. So from the surface we can see the missiles exit the water, and when the camera zooms in you see these perfect chemtrails from the exhaust of the solid state fuel first stage burn of these missiles. So it looks like 3 have launched. There goes the 4th. Camera's following this one as it ascends higher and higher into the atmosphere. And it's just absolutely fascinating because these can be shot or launched from 150 feet deep, and they have a range, I'm going to switch to kilometers, of like 8,000 kilometers. Switching to Google Earth, we can use this application to much better understand the types of targets in this war game model that the Russian government could use to target Ukrainian targets, specifically cities, industrial areas, from a submarine stationed in the Black Sea, for example. So one thing to keep in mind about these warheads is that third stage can turn around and be pretty granularly controlled. So it can drop several warheads over specific targets, and there's 16 of them. For the purposes of this model and to keep this video from getting too long, I picked 4 hypothetical targets. So we have the biggest city in Russia as our first target, and we can see that it's well within the missile range of these missiles. It's like 1/10 of the range. So this is easy pickings, and this population center is about 3 million people, just shy of that. So total population of Ukraine is about 12 million people, and Kyiv, I'm butchering that, I'm sorry, is about 1/4 of that. So you're looking at about 3 million people here, and just one of these missiles hitting there could obliterate this municipality. It would be completely devastating. And I think this is important to understand because Russia has this capability, and hopefully they won't use it for evil. Everything should be done to avoid war with these guys. So you can see that there's a yellow circle around the city center, and that's an 8-kilometer yellow circle. So using this website, we can type in 150 kilotons and find out what the destructive impact of a nuclear weapon is with that type of bomb. And keep in mind that this submarine holds 16 of those, so that's or 20. The document's not super clear, but we're going to go for 16 with this model. So these are incredibly destructive weapons, capable of destroying entire cities. They make, just one of these, again, is 15 times stronger than Hiroshima's, the bomb that lasted there, where that photo comes from, 1945. So 10 times that equivalent. So we can see here that an airburst would go up to almost 9 kilometers. So I drew a 8-kilometer circle around these areas to illustrate how bad the damage would be. So the closer you are to the center, the worse it's going to be, but you're still going to get destruction all the way out to that yellow line. And I'm not even going to go into the long-term negative effects of nuclear fallout, but it's all there. It's all possible. Okay, taking a look at this second target, we have our second biggest city in Ukraine, and its population is just about half of what the first biggest one is. So just under 1.5 million. We're 1.4 million here, and same sort of thing. This isn't the most populous country, and Russia's nuclear capabilities are just on one submarine. One of these submarines is more than enough to destroy this municipality. All right, let's fly over to our third largest city in the country of Ukraine. And this city has about 1 million people. There's an airport, there's ports. You can see the warships in this little harbor here. Got those little triangle noses on them, so that's a really easy way to identify them from satellite imagery. Got all these, I'm not sure if those are fuel tanks, a fuel tank farm or a grain silo, but lots of supplies there, and then the railroad as well. So I think this, in this war game sort of scenario, this could be a target as well if Russia just want to totally obliterate Ukraine. Zooming out, we're going to look at one more target. We could do this for 16 targets if we wanted to, but this video would be super long. We're going to zoom into this nuclear power station. It's the biggest nuclear power station in the whole country. There are 6 reactors we can see here. This power station supplies 1/5 of all the power to the entire country. So taking this out would be absolutely devastating. So I included it as our 4th target on this model, this simulation. Additionally, next to this target, there is a coal-fired power plant, and our 8-kilometer circumference is more than enough to take out both these targets, so they'd be completely leveled, and it would just cripple the power infrastructure of the country. So hopefully none of this happens. Hopefully the world will come together to keep Russia from doing any type of war with Ukraine. Let them be a sovereign country. In any case, that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.